Welcome back to Learning It from a Local. This is our seafood episode, and I can't wait to show you what I have been up to. A couple of days ago, I was invited to visit the Wildcatch Seafood Company. They are located at the Red Cannery. The Red Cannery used to be the Sebastian Stewart Fish Company, and it is one of the last remaining canneries along the Guaymas Channel, where there used to be 11 of them. At one point, Anacortes was considered the salmon canning capital of the world. In fact, that's a legacy we still celebrate at our waterfront festival. We also have our garbage cans are wrapped in the salmon can labels, and they use it for mugs and pitchers that are sold at the waterfront festival in July. As historic as the cannery building is, that's not why I went there. I was in search of live Dungeness crab, which is probably our most popular seafood item available here in Anacortes. Chris Sparks and his family own and operate Wildcatch Seafood as a wholesaler and distributor. Although I know they have some plans for expansion into a little bit more of a local commercial entity. For right now, all you need to do is keep an eye out for their live crab signs along Oaks Avenue or down at the Cap Sandy Marina, because they'll sell them to you right out of the tank if you ask. I especially like the Nemos. Those are crabs that are missing a claw or a couple of legs, and they sell them at a reduced rate. And since the body meat is really fantastic, and the claws are great, but there's only 2 of them, that's a real bargain. So you might ask, what is the best way to dispatch a live Dungeness crab? Actually, I have to tell you a quick story. I was walking towards their boat down at Cap Sandy Marina one morning to get some live crab from them, and there was a couple walking back towards me, and the woman said to the husband, "It said live crab, but I didn't realize that I was going to have to kill them." Well, I'll tell you a little bit about how I dispatch them. I put them in the freezer for about 20 minutes. That makes them pretty docile and easy to handle. The process is called half-backing. And half-backing, you take the legs and the claws and you hold them over, well, Chris has a special implement for this actually. I have a special stone in my yard that I use for my crab half-backing, and you give them just a good crack and you twist the, I don't want to be graphic, so I'm not going to show you. There are good YouTube channels for watching half-backing. But then you rinse the clusters out. I'm not a fan of the tamale. I know Mark Weens would have us think that it's wonderful, but I don't think it is. And when I have the clusters ready, I coil up some tin foil in the bottom of a pot and put about 1 inch or so of water in the bottom and steam them. And the crab comes out very clean and very sweet. About 1/4 of the crab is meat. If you want to catch your own crab, it's a very simple process, but a little bit expensive. And you probably need a boat, although I know some people hunt for them in the eelgrass at the low tide during crab season, but that's a little bit difficult to plan out, as the crab season comes in fits and starts, a couple days here and a couple days there, and the tide is kind of important if you want to be out in the eelgrass. If you have a small boat, it doesn't need to be very big, you can buy a crab pot and load it with chicken. Generally, people put frozen chicken in their crab pots, drop them, and you have a float with your information on it, so you can go back and pick it up the next day. Pick up your crab pot, which will involve hauling in the line, which is kind of a strenuous process, and see what you get. All the information concerning crab harvesting is available on the Washington State website. And it's a little bit difficult to decipher, but you'll eventually figure it out. When you buy your crab or shellfish stamp at the drugstore or the hardware store, they'll give you some good information. I love crab, but what about clams and mussels and oysters? We have some of the largest shellfish companies, shellfish farms, located right here in Skagit County. Taylor's is one of my favorite. It is a drive from here, about 40 minutes or so, but you won't be disappointed, and it is always worth it. Thankfully, their signage is good, and GPS will get you right to the entrance, but it's a little bit of a hunt for this hidden gem. When you get there, you can eat them there. They have a lovely picnic area or indoor-outdoor seating, or you can bring them home. If you're not terribly good or don't really know how to shuck an oyster, you can get them shucked, although there are a lot of really good YouTube videos on learning how to shuck oysters. And I must say that if you plan to have your shellfish there at Taylor Shellfish Farm, stay there and enjoy the sunset. It is one of the most beautiful spots I know of to watch the sunset. I haven't even mentioned smoked salmon yet, but the secret is getting out. Sea Bear Smokehouse is located in the Warehouse District right as you enter Anacortes. And right now we are walking through their outlet store. Sea Bear, back in the day in the 1950s, patented a process for smoking and cooking their salmon in a pouch that doesn't need refrigeration. It's worth a stop, and their prices are fantastic. Sourcing your own seafood is a lot more labor intensive than just buying it. Anacortes has a lot of charter fishing companies that I'll cover in an upcoming video. But if you're interested in digging for clams or harvesting oysters and mussels, the state regulations take a little bit of research. They are very specific on times and types. And remember, a lot of our beaches are private. Also, the tides are really important. If you are coming to Anacortes, I can be a lot more specific in person as to where you go and how you harvest. A lot of those places are kind of secret and not for the internet. Now it's time to take a look at a couple of neighborhoods that may tempt you to move to this seafood mecca of Anacortes. The first area I'd like to talk about is called the West. And we call it that because downtown we have 1st Street, 2nd Street, 3rd Street. In an area a little bit farther to the west of downtown, we call it West 2nd, West 3rd, and West 4th, etc. So it's just kind of a quirk of the numbering and the angles of the streets. This neighborhood was built mostly in the 90s, and these houses are very traditional. This is a wonderful area as you can walk right down to the Guaymas Channel Trail and all the way out to the ferries. That's a great morning walk. It takes about 40 minutes or so. And it also is very close to the trails that enter the Cranberry Lake portion of the Anacortes forest lands. Cranberry Lake is wonderful for kayaking, but there was a sawmill located at the very south end of Cranberry Lake, and there's still some pilings. So if you are in your kayak and paddling around that area, it's easy to get hung up on one. Not that that has ever happened to me. The second area that you might be interested in is called Creekside Village and is a gated community called a planned unit development, or PUD for short. In this area, they maintain their own roads. All of the landscaping and exteriors of the homes is covered in the Homeowners Association dues, the HOA. Creekside is mostly duplexes and almost all single stories. Many of them have wonderful views, and they also have locked RV storage on the property, which is really nice. If you are enjoying these peeks into neighborhoods in Anacortes and tidbits of other interesting information, I invite you to like and subscribe to my channel. Your questions and comments are always appreciated. And in the meantime, my name is Kristi Gabrielse. I'm a broker with Windermere Real Estate, and you are learning it from a local, because where you live is my business. Thank you. Goodbye.